Welcome to episode 6 of our interview series. Today we're joined by Gary Piggott. Just a couple of introductions. My name is Andy Kroll. I'm involved in the coach education programme across Essex. Also joined by Lawrence Gower, who is also involved in our coach education programme. So today we've had Gary involved in our previous episode with Tom, but this is a chance just to go through your journey, I suppose, Gary, and a little bit around reminiscing about where you've come from and how you've got to what you're doing now. So for those that don't know, Gary is our county coach developer, FA member of staff, and he is linked to Essex as a county. So looking after the tutor workforce, delivery of courses, predominantly UEFA B level 2, and also delivers on the level 1s as well. So we'll have a bit of a chat today, but also it's kind of an opportunity for you to share some of your stories as well, Gary. So over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Andy, Lawrence. So yeah, really nice to sort of be included in doing this, guys. And I've seen some of the others and been really interested in some of the people's stories, and hopefully they're beneficial for people that actually watch these. So hopefully this is a half decent addition to that already good series.
Sure.
So just to sort of reiterate what Andy said, so I'm the county coach developer. I just really wanted to give everybody a little bit of an insight into maybe where I started, where I am now, and everything in between. Obviously won't cover everything because we haven't got long enough, but I've just put some banners up there of different places that I've sort of worked and different clubs that I've been involved with along my journey, and where I started and where I am now. So the current role, county coach developer, like Andy said, but I started my sort of journey as a dad within a local boys team, Rayleigh Boys, and more likely because I didn't step back when everybody else stepped back. I ended up doing that job, and I would imagine there's a lot of people watching this who have started in a very similar situation. So really just a picture of my journey. So my journey started in 1988 when I embarked on the coaching and stroke managing, if it was managing, of a local boys team. There's been many peaks, many troughs along the way, both within the coaching journey and the personal journey, and I'm still striving to more likely reach the peak that I want to reach, although I'm some way along that journey. And there's been some excellent experiences along the way, which have not only shaped me as a coach and a coach educator, or going on to be a coach educator, but also personally as well, and learning from various people along the way, not just in a football environment either. So learning life lessons as well, which is equally, if not more important, I personally feel. So that's just a little picture of my journey, where it started and where it currently is. I'm not going to leave that up there for too long, but it just gives a little bit of an overview of when I started coaching with Rayleigh Boys, the sort of roles in football. I suppose there's going to be many coaches who watch this series who are wanting to get a full-time role in football, which isn't easy. And I'm sure that Lawrence and Andy, and certainly myself, would admit that we're lucky, although we work hard at what we do, we're lucky to be working in the game that we love, and that passion would have come from somewhere initially. So just my journey, I suppose, as a timeline, when I've done qualifications, places I've worked at, and I'll revisit that as we go on as well, and hopefully we can unpick some of that as well. So I think I would say my journey started here. So I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I didn't have that flame ignited within me, and that passion ignited in me with regards to football. So this is the area that I grew up, which is where the X is. That's Broomfield Avenue in Leigh-on-Sea, and that's where my sort of formative years were. And I moved there more likely when I was about 5. And that area there on the far left of that top picture is where my junior school was. And I didn't get a lift to school. It was walking to school with me mates. So quite alien to a lot of people now, more likely, but we actually walked to school in them days. And on the right hand side, where the running track is, that's Eastwood High School, and that's where my secondary school was, my senior school was. So my formative years were around that. That was my little bubble, if you like. And I think that we was lucky enough. So the bottom pictures, the red roof depicts where my house was. So that was my playground. And I think that's where my love of football was ignited. Maybe initially it was with going with my dad's football and being on the side of the pitch while he was playing and kicking a ball about and messing about and falling over a ball and throwing a ball, etc. But just having a ball and learning those sort of fundamental skills, if you like, throwing, catching, kicking, running after it. I suppose a little bit of agility, balance, coordination coming to that as well. But the beauty of living around that area was, as you can see, we had a football pitch, and the council at that time was really accommodating because they actually planted trees on that football pitch, whereas we had to use, to coin a phrase and an old analogy, jumpers for goalposts. But the council was nice enough to come and put some trees on there, which was our goalposts, and also even better for sort of individual skill development. They put a sign up that said no ball games, which was good because we could use that as accuracy. So we'd have competitions about who could hit the sign and things like that. And I think the beauty of living around there was not only the playing every day. So it's either you played on there as you went to school. You certainly played on there when you come home, and your weekends were spent predominantly on that green. And our great rivals lived in the next street where the Red Lion is, in Stonehill Road. Who knows? Somebody's son or grandson might be listening into this whose granddad or dad lived in Stonehill and remembers playing on that green, and getting beaten by the Broomfield team. But that's where we learnt to play. That's where, and bearing in mind, I didn't actually have a coach until I was 14. So when I played at junior school, it was the teacher who took the football team. When I played at secondary school, it was the teacher for the first year or so, couple of years, who took the football team before I actually joined a youth team. And the youth teams didn't start until he was 14, which shows how far back I'm going now. So I suppose my question is, how on earth did we learn to play football when we didn't have coaches? And I think it's a great lesson that we can learn as coaches, and something that I've only, sort of become to realise later in my sort of coaching journey, if you like, or career, is that sometimes we can actually impact or impair some players' development by coaching too much. And maybe we could try and recreate the environment that I sort of grew up in and that kids love, and just create that environment where we can facilitate them playing football. We can put certain maybe conditions on and constraints on a game, but we just let them play and we let them explore and we let them maybe build some rules into the game, and we maybe let them decide what's fair and what's not fair. And that's all we did when we grew up. So there'd be some bigger kids playing. I know we shouldn't really do that now and play across age bands and things like that, but what we did, we actually managed that. So if we was losing and the other team had two bigger kids, we'd have one of their bigger kids. Or if we was winning, we'd give them one of our bigger kids. Equally, if we was losing and they had more players on their side, or it was equal numbers, they might give us one or two of their players to even it up. So children, surprisingly, can make their own decisions and can come up with mechanisms to solving problems. And I think that's something that I try to sort of advocate now to coaches. So it's almost relinquishing some of the power that we've got, if you like, and not really wanting to be the font of all knowledge, and trying to give it back to the players whilst helping them, supporting them, guiding them, with hopefully the knowledge that we've got and the experience we've got.
Yeah, it's just a question on just thinking, just picturing about my own kind of upbringing. Definitely some similarities there in terms of being out playing till, dusk till dawn kind of, or dawn till dusk. But in terms of the people that were playing, the value of play and all that. Yeah. What kind of age range are we talking about when you were playing on that green?
I'd say it was from more likely about 6 up to 12, 13.
Yeah. I just think it's fascinating in terms of, there's a lot of science behind it, but not perhaps for this conversation, but just the social skills developed within that environment. Yeah. People listening, watching who've got sibling or children with siblings of different ages, or perhaps were brought up only child or with a massive family, and just the impact that can have on your social skills, your development for future. Yeah. But if you were to take yourself and 10 of your mates and how different each of your upbringings were, and then you've got all of that coming into one environment if you're coaching a team. So I'll say I've got a group of under 10s, and they've all got their own little mini slice of history,
massively,
and little experiences. And we always talk about knowing the people you're working with, but I think just something as simple as just a conversation that perhaps the children have amongst themselves to go, what sort of stuff do you do during the week? Those that don't go to school together. I think it'd be quite interesting just to listen into that as a coach, wouldn't it? And just say, what are you up to this week? So who's been out at a kickabout? Who's had 3 or 4 organised sessions, and maybe what the difference is? Because I think you can tell, can't you, those that are from a very young age who've had that chance to actually be out there and just play and to mess around, to experiment with the ball. I think it shows, doesn't it?
I think that's a really important point, Andy, and I certainly highlight that on courses where, although we might be working with an under 10s group, when I think back to my sort of start point, and like I said earlier, I was on the side of a pitch with a ball at more likely 2.5, 3 years old. So I was able to do whatever I wanted, and I had the freedom of the sort of touchline, if you like, to do whatever I wanted. I had a garden. When I moved around to Broomfield, I had that green. But I know full well that, within that under 10s group, there might be one of them children who only started playing football 2 years ago, or might have wanted to start playing now, and they've found football and they really love football. They might live in a block of flats, or they might live next to a main road and they haven't got a garden. So I was really, really fortunate to be able to hone some fundamental skills, if you like, and some fundamental movements just by being able to play. And I know a lot of people sort of blame computers, etc. now and social media for kids not doing stuff, but it's not just that, it's the environment that a lot of people live in now where they don't get the opportunities to do that sort of stuff. And also, I think it's people's work environments and working hours. So in those days, it was my dad went to work, my mum was a housewife, and she was at home. So I could play out because mum was at home. Now, there's a lot of kids now who are not in that situation, and parents might be working shifts, and they're sort of ships that pass in the night, if you like. And so they can't let their children play out because the area, they're not, their area they might play on is not immediately outside their front room window like mine, and they can see you out the window. It might be you've got to go, into a different area to actually find a bit of grass now somewhere. And we're hesitant and reticent in wanting our kids to do that, aren't we? Because we are very protective of our kids, and quite rightly so. I don't think I was neglected in any way when I was a kid, but there was more freedom then, I think, definitely, yeah.
It's fascinating. I think those that are coaching now. I think sometimes you can be bombarded with information because there's so much out there, isn't there, that people can get their hands on and access. Too much, maybe. I think our part of our role, this conversation to go off in different directions, but I feel like part of our role is just to zoom in a little bit on the stuff that is important. Yeah. So we talk regularly about the importance of the people, children, whoever it is, adults that you're working with, and understanding a bit about them. You don't need to know everything because that wouldn't be right, but just enough that's going to help you along the way for you as a coach, and just that listening and finding out where people are from and the access they have to things. It doesn't have to be always just with the child. It could be parents. Just a little bit of communication can go such a long way, because it might be that for whatever reason they've not been able to kick a ball for a long time in some cases. We look at lockdown, and so I think it's just worth understanding that, isn't it? And just, we say about taking a step back, but I think more important than ever now, just maybe this time period now is an opportunity for people to reflect a little bit, and perhaps priorities may have changed, perhaps things that people feel were important before may have changed, and I think it's naturally it will come back to the people, won't it?
Massively, and I think you're 100% right. I think the one thing, and I suppose linking back to those pictures, and linking back to the schools I went to, it's about, for coaches, it's about caring for the individuals that you're working with. I think that's the thing, and it links back to asking questions about what have you done this week, what have you learned this week, what have you found, what was the best thing you did this week, what was the most interesting thing, or was there stuff you did this week that you didn't really like, and why didn't you like it? So having those conversations, it's not when our player turns up, we say hello, we shake hands, we do whatever, and then we train them, and then they go home. Have conversations, find out a little bit about them, and I think the importance of those conversations as well is you can get an idea of how those players might be feeling before they train or before they play a game. And I think it goes back to when we're talking about people skills, social skills, life skills. We're actually helping the players to become better at having conversations as well. So if they are spending a fair bit of time on a computer and doing a bit of gaming, or they're WhatsApping their mates, or using whatever other social media they're doing to liaise and with their mates. People don't really talk now. I don't think younger people talk to each other as much, and we're equally as, I suppose, guilty as adults, because we'll tend to text or WhatsApp our mates before we give them a phone call. So I think we're equally as guilty, and we can learn a lesson as well, hopefully from this sort of thing, and realising that it's better to have a conversation rather than just send a text. I mean, it's better to send a text than nothing at all, obviously, but you know, pick up the phone and have a conversation, find out how people are. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me when I was younger, and when I didn't realise it until later in life, when I was coaching, and that is actually how people made me feel as an individual. So at junior school and at secondary school, the teachers there, some of them really impacted on me. And it wasn't because they taught me this topic or they taught me that subject and they give me that information, because to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't be able to recall what they taught me or told me. However, what I do remember is how those teachers made me feel, and they made me feel like a person, and it was nice that they would be bothered to have a bit of dialogue and a conversation with me as an individual, and have those conversations that we just spoke about. How are you feeling? What did you get out of that lesson? What do you want to get out of this lesson? And that was really unusual in those days, if I'm perfectly honest. So I think that was a really important lesson for me, not only a life lesson, if you like, and taught me life skills. Like I say, I might didn't realise at the time, but I'd started to recall that when I got into coaching. So the importance of having a conversation with people, the importance of caring for people, and the building of relationships with people, and not just asking a token question, not only acting like you care, but actually do care about people. And also that then goes into the coach education as well. So, latterly in my sort of journey, I started to do coach education, which I've become really passionate about. So from coaching players, it then sort of lapsed into or morphed into the development and support and guidance of coaches. And I'm equally, if not more, passionate about that than the working with the players now. I love working with players, but if you can impact and enhance a coach's information that they've already got and complement it, that's then beneficial to multiples of players that they've got in their charge, and that's why I sort of have gone down that route of trying to help coaches and support coaches and make time and go out your way to help coaches as well, and not just be a coach educator on a course, but supporting them as and when they need it. So you're at the end of a phone, you're at the end of an email, you can meet up and have a conversation. That's what coaching and a coach educator should be about. I personally, I don't know if you've got any sort of questions.
I was just going to say, Gary, do you think we've almost got away from some of those kind of key values in terms of being good communicators or just having conversations with players and knowing our players? It almost feels that the more kind of, I suppose, information that's available and the more that's out there, you can get an entire session from YouTube, for example, which will give you, all the coaching points and where to begin and where to end and all of the progressions. Almost feels that with that kind of information available, and with people able to, just kind of put that session on from start to finish, we almost lose some of those values that are important, as you say. So things like, the freedom of play, and things like just having a conversation and finding out a little bit more about your players beforehand. It's almost that can kind of go by the wayside.
100%. Yeah, no, 100% agree, Lawrence. I think that the danger over the last few years, not just now, is with internet, etc., Twitter, where people post stuff on there. don't get me wrong, there's some great stuff. There's some great information, but is it relevant for my players? That's the question I would always ask. And yes, you can pull a session off of any of those platforms. However, the danger is that we just cut and paste. The question I would say, or the question I would ask coaches to ask themselves is this relevant for my players? I personally think that there's nothing wrong with taking the principle of somebody's practice, but then the questions you've got to ask yourself are, what age group is that relevant for? Are the points that are being made within this practice relevant to my players' age and stage of development and learning? Could it be that I could take the principle and the planning of that practice and come up with my own points relevant to my players? So I think the most valuable thing you can do for your players is plan your own practices pertinent to their four corner model, if you like. And I would imagine that everybody listening into this will be, or have the information about the four corner model that the FA have with all their courses. So are the technical points of that practice applicable to my 10-year-olds? If not, change them. Are the psychological aspects of that and the social aspects and the physical aspects relevant to my players? Maybe some are, maybe some aren't. Well, if the ones that are, great, keep them. The ones that might not be, maybe we have to change them and think about maybe challenges that we offer up to our players, because they're our players and they're not the players of someone who has posted something on one of those other platforms. So get better at or learn to become better at planning sessions relevant for your own players. I think that's a really good point, Lawrence.
I think us as adults, we're quite good at just hijacking the fun a little bit when it comes to children, to kids. Because if you go back to, got the image there, that green, I'll probably bet a fair amount of money that if I was a betting man, that there'd be no cones, no spots, no goals, no bibs, no ref, no respect barriers. Ball might get stuck under a car every now and again. I remember that happening a lot. And all those other little bits that are going on around the social side of things, and you just make do. And it's when they're allowed to, it's fascinating what children and young people can actually achieve. Because if there was, if you had child psychologist, if you like, watching over something like that kind of playground or kickabout type thing, there's so much going on that contributes to your overall development, isn't there? You look at four corner model, and it's not just a list of words when it comes to four corners. It's not just you're doing that in that corner. There's actually, when you really pick it apart or you merge it all together, there's some real deep development and learning and discovery that's going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive, and I think that it's like I said earlier, it's almost relinquishing some of the power we've got. I can see why some novice coaches, if you like, I don't really like that terminology, but maybe we've been coaching for a couple of years and we perceive that a coach's role is being the font of all knowledge, and we have to tell everybody what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and we have to spot every mistake that a player makes. Well, we can spot mistakes that players make. However, we maybe don't have to highlight that. Maybe by observing and stepping back sometimes, we can actually see all those things. We can see who's doing whatever it is well that we maybe have asked them to do, or they've come up with the idea of doing something. So I think our observational skills become more and more important as coaches, and then we need to think about what we're observing and why we're observing it, and how is that going to help me develop those players going forward. So if we've got a challenge for the players, and obviously we try and challenge different players in different ways because they're at different stages of learning. Our job then is to observe how those players are doing. Now it might be we make a mental note of how they're doing and who's doing well and who might not be, and then we think about how we can support those players going forward. It might be in that practice, it might be in the next game, or it might be in any subsequent practices or games. So it's not a case of we need to have all the answers immediately. It's a case of knowing, and when we talk about long-term player development, and I think it's hugely important that we do treat it as long-term player development and not really that we've got to get it all right now. You know, hopefully we've got a few seasons, a few years to impact on our players and help them to develop by supporting and guiding them, and not necessarily just giving them the answers to everything. Allowing them to have that play, allowing them to, because if you ask them what they want to do, and everybody listening to this will know that a majority of children, when they turn up, will know when they're playing a game. So that tells us something. It tells us they want to play football. So how can we let them play football and get what we want out of it? I think that's important. And if they're enjoying playing football as well, they've got more of a chance of learning because they're doing something they're enjoying. I think that's hugely important.
Gary, so you said about you played a bit of school football and that, and you didn't get into a formal coaching right till 14, did you say?
Under 14s was the first youth league at that time.
So just think about your own personal development as a player, and very little adult involvement, maybe at school football and things, or maybe someone giving you a few pointers here and there. But your kind of trajectory, your learning was quite self-guided there, wasn't it? So there was no one kind of assessing you at key stages along the way, but
No.
Somehow you still managed to play football. I mean, just out of curiosity, I don't actually know the answer to this, but how long did you end up playing football until?
Vets football, so more likely 38, 39.
Yeah. I think it speaks volumes, to be honest. That love for the game at the sort of the early years as you got on the screen there. I think that's you've laid the foundations there, haven't you? That's likely, not saying it's definitely, but likely what kept you going all that time, because what your connection to football was, and it was the same for me. Wake up on a Sunday morning when it comes to sort of playing games in younger youth, and there's just that excitement, that buzz for going out and playing. Probably one because of football, two to see my mates, or maybe the other way around. And it was just like, right, we're going to go out and we're going to play, and it's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting. It wasn't a chore in any way.
No. And you just prompted something there within me as well, is you link it to, there's a lot of talk now around, and a lot of people doing sort of gamification and sort of different levels of challenge and powering up, and all sorts of different stuff we can take from computer games. And there's some great information out there, and the kids love computer games. And when I think back, we actually did that ourselves. So we changed the challenges that we had within the games that we played by maybe changing the rules for one team because they was doing better than the other team, or maybe we by increasing the difficulty for one, we decreased it for the other. So we could manage those things, and I suppose that's why the computer firms have spent millions and millions of pounds and billions of pounds or dollars on designing computer games, because, and sometimes we go on the green and we go, what should we do today? Oh, let's just have a kick about. Let's just see who scored the most goals, and what we do, we'll have a game of Wembley doubles, and we use that goal over there because that's a bit bigger than the other goal, or one of the other goals, and it makes it a bit easier, and he's not a bad keeper. You know, if it was Billy in goal, we'd use a smaller goal because Billy's not all that. So we actually sorted out our own problems and levelled up and levelled down by having a green and some trees and different players with different attributes and different skill sets. But when you think about it, it's exactly the same as what we're doing now around gamification, but we gamified it ourselves, if you like. And also going back to, I think one of the other things that came to my mind as you were saying about, you know, what from 14 or up to 14, what happened. I think one of the biggest impacts for me as well, guys, was my old man. So, and he never put any pressure on me at all. So I wasn't pressurised into trying to win things, whether that be, you know, in football, and this is going from 14 upwards. But before that, you know, school sports days, school football matches, etc., etc. He was at every single game I played up until, embarrassingly, about 21, because he was passionate and had a love of the game, and he loved watching me play football for some reason. And he used to be there all the time, and a lot of my mates sort of commented. Even now, people comment on what he was like and the support he gave me, and he never once criticised what I did. Never once said to me, "You was really poor today." And believe me, there was lots of opportunities for him to say that. However, what he did say was similar questioning to what we say now on courses about, well, you know, how do you think you did? How do you think you played today? Not you played bad or you played well. It was down to me to tell him what I thought I did well, or what I thought I could do better. And he was always there to support. And if I wanted to go somewhere, he'd take me. And that to me, and I didn't know that was brilliant at the time. However, if you think now about going back to the stage of that players are at, there's some kids who haven't got any support mechanisms around them, and they might make their own way to football, and they might have to travel in any way, shape or form they can to go and play football. They might be lucky enough to get taken to football, but there may be pressures within that journey to and from football, and pressures on the side of the pitch if we're not careful. But that's the one thing that really resonates, well, not only the one thing, but a thing that really resonates with me is that support that I had without any pressure at all, and any pressure was brought to bear by myself, wanting to be better, and it wasn't to please anybody around me. It was it was an intrinsic driven thing where I wanted to become better and learn new skills. And to be perfectly honest, guys, by the time I was 14, my skill set on a football pitch was ingrained, and I don't believe I refined those, but I didn't learn much else after that, other than tactically, if you like. So if you look at, there's a lot of talk now about you know, small-sided games and 1v1, winning the 1v1s. And when I was younger, I was decent on the ball, and I was a little left winger, and I was decent in 1v1 situation, but not naturally. It was because I played God knows how many hours on that green, and at school and in a playground and all sorts of different environments, that I became better at 1v1 situations and 2v1s and decision making and things like that. And it taught us to attack and defend and outnumber your opposition and stuff like that. We didn't know that then, but that's what we was learning by playing them games. And when you think back now to different games you played, that's what it was.
I mean, one thing I always try and put out there, or you know, always kind of emphasise, which I think is important for coaches and adults to I suppose just keep mindful of, is that we're not here to save or to rescue our players, or to rescue or save the kids that we work with. We are there to support, and we're there mainly to facilitate. But there's no need for us to feel that we have to take them in a certain direction, or we've got to make them into the next Harry Kane or whoever. And I think that's just always important to be mindful of in terms of our role.
Yeah, and I honestly think that I didn't play at a massively brilliant level, but I was okay as a player. But I learned by having the freedom to learn. I honestly believe, and I don't know. I had to change a little bit when I started playing youth football at under 14s, because then I had a coach. That coach had their own ideas, wanted to play in a certain way, and I spent years playing in a way that I felt was the right way for the position that I played. So I suppose when I started playing in that controlled, organised environment, I felt a little bit restricted because I had to conform to certain things, and I think that took a little bit away from what I was. I mean, it was still an enjoyable environment, because we used to win a lot. Not that winning's everything, but at that age you enjoy winning at under 14s. And at any age you enjoy winning, but not forsaking a bit of fun as well. So that started to maybe inhibit me a little bit. And I suppose I was fortunate enough. I mean, that was a decent sort of coach who allowed you certain, affordances, but I suppose it was just that rebellious streak in me as well, that I just wanted to do my own thing, to be honest. I was maybe a bit of a maverick without the maverick skills.
Was that position assigned to you in terms of left wing, or was that just something that you wanted to play?
I suppose I was limited because I was very left-footed,
Right.
and my right foot was for standing on. However, I was decent as a youngster, playing in that position, and then, like every single player, as you become older, you start to sort of drop back into different positions. Then I ended up playing sweeper as an adult, for some reason. Yeah, but more likely because I talked a lot. Yeah, but interesting. Shall I move the slide on?
Why not?
Yeah.